The Charles R. English Award is the highest award that the Criminal Justice Section presents. It is considered annually, but not necessarily presented annually. We need to make sure that we have a qualified recipient. This year will be the 17th consecutive year, as it turns out, that we've awarded this award, and it goes to someone who is my friend and my colleague from Tampa, and who was the chair of the Criminal Justice Section two years ago, and is an extraordinary contributor to the section and really the criminal justice system, Jim Felman. Jim has devoted, as Neil mentioned, literally thousands of hours. He's in a four-man law firm, who are all here, by the way, and some friends from Tampa as well. But he's in a four-man law firm, and he was able to serve as the chair of the Criminal Justice Section, practice law, and in that four-man law firm submit 113 petitions for commutation pursuant to the Clemency Project 2014. Of those, 30 grants he has received. 30 of his clients, of this four-man law firm's clients, have received clemency, 14 of which were serving life sentences. One had a 218-year sentence, which I assume is a life sentence. But Jim's work was not just in working on these. He was really the heart and soul of the project, and is as responsible as anyone for the project being successful. I've watched him in action as the chair of the Criminal Justice Section. I've worked with him over the years in cases. He hasn't just devoted pro bono services to the clemency cases. He works in many other cases, including cases in a nonprofit that my wife set up called Crossroads for Florida Kids, where they provide pro bono legal services for kids in foster care. So it is with great pleasure that I present to you Jim Felman, who is our latest recipient of the Charles English Award. There you go. He even gets an award.
This is going to make a great candy cane. Thank you, everybody. I tell you, I am just thrilled and humbled to receive this recognition, and as you could imagine, there's some people I need to thank, and then there's some comments that I wanted to make. You know, as Sandy pointed out, we're a pretty small shop, and so the first person that I really need to thank is my first law partner, Stuart Markman. Stu and I have been collaborating in the law for more than 30 years. I'd say we've been partners for 30 years, but that would not be accurate, because as I said last night, I started out at the secretarial station outside his office as his summer law clerk. But he's put up with me, and the main thing is that for all these years that I've been coming up here and running around and doing the things that some of you have seen, he's been sitting back there working, and has never, ever asked me, Jim, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing up there? And it just wouldn't be possible for me to do the things that I've been able to do without Stuart back there in the office working and keeping the lights on. So Stuart, thank you. This is really, in some ways, for you. The next person I have to thank is my other law partner, Catherine Yanez, and Sandy, I appreciate what you said, but the truth of the matter is that most of our petitions for clemency in our firm were drafted by Catherine. Catherine saw me, I mean, not only has she been my law partner on the criminal side of our firm, day in and day out for 15 years, but when I brought back the Clemency Project into our law firm, I thought, hey, Jesus, what is Felman up to now? more pro bono. And instead, Catherine and my paralegal, Chrissy Bartow, just took off with it. Each evening, I watched Catherine leave with her briefcase full, and each morning she came back with another case or two written up, day after day after day. And then Chrissy got the documents for her to put in her briefcase, and then took them and put them together and filed them. So she's filed, I don't know, more than 100, and the good news is we're now at 33 grants, because the pardon attorney called us today to tell us that 3 of our clients were granted clemency today. So at 12:30 today, while y'all were in here, we were next door telling Bessie Pittman and Don Graham, you're going home. And I got to tell you, it is incredible to tell someone who's got a life sentence, you're going home next year. And it's because of President Obama. And that would lead me to some other thanks, because I got to say that without this president being willing to do this, it wouldn't happen. I mean, you look at these are each human beings. We're now at 994 grants. I don't know how many people are in this room, but it's, 120 or so. Picture if there were 900 people sitting here and they're all free because of this fellow and his courage to do this. And he could not have done it alone, obviously. He's got Neil Eggleston there. And Neil, he wouldn't say it, but the guy is working his butt off. He reads every case. His staff is working really hard. Deputy Attorney General Jim Cole, former Deputy Attorney General Cole, really started this initiative. I wish Jim were here. He's been a long, valid member, a loyal member of our section. I remember when Jim called us into his office and he announced this, and he asked for our help. And I remember just looking at him and saying, yay. Probably not an appropriate thing to say in the DAG's office, but I couldn't help it. Jim started this, and Eric Holder, and Sally Yates has continued it, and Bob Zausmer, the pardon attorney. I don't know if anybody works harder in the DOJ, because we'll take credit as a project for the grants that the project got. The truth of the matter is that at least a third of these grants were submitted by prisoners pro se, and there were thousands and thousands of them. 5,000, 6,000 of them. And so these lawyers in the pardon attorney's office went through and they have found these needles in the haystack, and they have found these cases and have granted them. And so I need to thank the nameless, faceless people in the office of the pardon attorney that are working their butts off. And you think about it, the rest of the people in the building probably aren't thrilled by what they're doing. They're undoing what the rest of them have been doing. And they're doing it. And so there's just so many thanks to go around. Steve Salzberg was my partner on this project. I know that Steve had to leave, but Steve was in on this from the beginning. He's read many of the cases. He's done almost as much work on this as I have. I will also say there was a critical point in the project where we needed to get access to documents. And Judge Donald played a critical role in helping us get our hands on the relevant documents through a protocol that was worked out with the judiciary. And we wouldn't be successful, Judge, without your help. The other thing that I have to say is that we have partners in this. The ABA obviously is a partner, but I have to recognize the other organizations involved. NACDL gave us the ability to make this project happen. They gave us the physical location, they gave us their computer people, they set up the database, they made it happen. The ACLU put up, Vanita Gupta actually was our partner from the ACLU now before she went off to the Justice Department. They put up $250,000 to let us hire the staff and to get rolling. Families Against Mandatory Minimums, and Mary Price, our partner from FAM, is here. Could not be possible without FAM's expertise and their knowledge of how to reach out to prisoners and deal with prisoners, and subject matter expertise. The Federal Defender's Office. I know that there was, right in the middle of it, we had our legs cut out from under us. There was a memo from the administrative office saying that defenders can't submit clemency petitions for their clients because the representation is concluded. Didn't stop them from doing a lot of work. They went through their files, they found the clients they thought were eligible, and they told us about them. Could not have been done without the defenders. They were a critical role in our training of our Army. But we did process 36,000 people who asked for our help. We raised an Army of more than 4,000 lawyers. I do think it's probably the largest pro bono initiative in our country's history. And our bar really stood up. They asked for our help, and the bar responded. And we have now submitted more than 2,200 petitions on behalf of the project. As he mentioned 872. As of today, there's now 994 grants. About 500 of those, 469, were submitted through our project. About half of them were doing life. We've saved more than 7,000 years of imprisonment. We've saved more than $225 million. And so it's just been an incredibly rewarding experience, and I thank the ABA for its support of this effort. I wanted to say some other things because I've been doing more than just the Clemency Project. I wanted to say briefly that I've been coming to town here from my small town upbringing in north central Florida. I've been coming here since about 1994. And over the years, I have to say that I don't think any of the stereotypes about the political process have come to be true. People here actually don't care if you come from a big name firm. Actually, they don't really care where you come from at all. It really doesn't matter who you know or if you know no one. What really matters is what you have to say and the power of your ideas. And I have felt immediately welcomed by everyone. And it does seem to me that the true currency in this town is the value of ideas. And it's what we could best hope for in our capital. And that has been my experience here. It certainly has been my experience within this section. Now, I will add that my preference for the power of ideas through rational and comprehensive discourse leads me to think that when we're going to allocate authority to sentence people, as between the legislature, the executive, and the judicial branches, that the judicial branch has significant and unique institutional advantages over both prosecutors and the Congress. But I feel some hope for our Congress. I think that I'm hesitant to make such an absolute statement in front of such a crowd, but I think it is true that the reduction in the penalties for crack cocaine is the first time in the history of this republic in which the Congress has ever lowered the penalty for a crime, for a federal crime. And it's been followed by across-the-board, somewhat modest reductions by the Sentencing Commission in all drug penalties, except that those who had mandatory minimums couldn't benefit from them. But there's hope there, and I'm hope for the executive branch, led by this president and former Attorney General Eric Holder, Neil Eggleston, Jim Cole, continued by Attorney General Lynch, Deputy Attorney General Yates. We've seen some of the most progressive policies and thoughtful changes to prosecutorial charging and sentencing policy in our lifetimes. It's things we've waited decades for, and they're happening and have happened. So I have hope there. But I will say that as much hope as I feel, we still lead the world in incarceration. So I look forward to continuing to visit. Thank you.